Welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is Relationship Wednesday, and I'm thinking it's 8:01. The show started at 7. Next Wednesday, we keep time, okay? But our topic today is, do you think women are responsible, or at least partially responsible, for the existence and the creation of deadbeat dads? And our panelists, as usual, is Bigger, Better 2020. We are doing big things. We have my lovely co-host, Susan, and then we have Paul Wafula. He is a pastor and also one of the founders of Father's Right movement. We have Tatiana Karanja. She is a mother, a photographer. She's a woman of many hats, and she likes food. I have to mention that. You post a lot of food on your page. Yeah. And we have Dennis Mwangi. He's the other founder of Father's Rights movement, and he's also a banker. He has quite the story when it comes to why they decided to start that foundation. You're going to tell us that in a bit. But I'd like to sample a bit of your feedback. We have on Instagram, Bottle Burge, yeah, that's an interesting name. I think looking for blame causes the problems. We should find a solution to avoid this problem. Okay, fair enough. We have Vani. He says, not at all. That is just an irresponsible person with the blame like solely on himself. And all these are men, note. All these are men responding. Okay. We have Chef Dabula. They're part of the problem, and at times dads become deadbeat because of anger and disappointment. Okay, we have Elodie Zone. She says, we're a product of our environment. It's not women, it's the parental situation. Susan, do you have feedback on your end?
Mostly people on Twitter saying hello, but I do want to remind you guys,
and
I'll
calling
read
us
them, I'll read
queens.
them, don't worry, we're still here till 9. But I do want to remind you guys that we have a giveaway on the show today, and it has something to do with the month of love coming up in February. So we have our social media pages specifically for this network. It is KTN Home. You should be able to find us on Twitter, on Facebook, and on Instagram. And we're asking a particular question, and the answer was said on the show early today. So you've been tuned in, you've been listening. Go on to KTN Home, answer the question, and you can win a little sum. Now, back to the topic at hand. Dennis, I want you to tell people your story, but just before we do, we're going to look at what people had to say on the streets when we asked them, are women responsible for the creation of deadbeat dads?
For me, I think it is a two-way traffic, and more so, una get like, unajua siku hizi kuna premature relationships, more so ni watoto wa kambo nini, wana have like hiyo kitu for fun, but hawajui majukumu yake. Like for me as a boy, nikipeana dem ball, huyu ni mtoto wangu, unajua, lazima nimfuate mahali yako, nijue vile naendelea. But most of the boys nowadays, they are just boys, you know, they are not men wakiwa shule. So unapata wanapeana tu ni kama competition. Tunapata na keja budo unajua udem nilimdunga mimba. Ujui aliendaje. But for me, I think to some extent ni story ya maboy. Wana have for fun, and then inaumiza madem. Me am a man, but na feel madem. Maboy hapo kuna vile tunakosea.
I do not believe that ladies are to blame, simply because of the fact that I do have a deadbeat dad, and I don't believe it's the woman's issue or influence, because, for example, for my father, he continued the same pattern with his new family, so I don't believe that it's the women, just him following the pattern that he already has inside him. Yeah. So it's really, but not all, but I feel like it's an individual problem, but not a general problem, and it really can be caused by anyone, and no one can really not influence it.
Wow, okay. So the two people that we talked to, and we'll see more responses on the streets, don't necessarily think women can take full responsibility. Although the first person did say it's a two-way traffic. I don't know. Now, Dennis's story might show you guys a whole other side to this card when we are discussing the role that women can play in these difficult relationships, and also how it affects the child. So, Dennis, if you'd be so kind to tell us a little bit more about yourself and your personal story and how it led to the Father's Right movement.
Okay. So, Father's Rights movement, 2 years old. And for those 2 years, I can say we have seen it all. See? We have seen it all. Actually came to realize that I was not, or I am not alone in this thing. Yeah. I used to have to be married sometimes back, and then after a fallout, the parental alienation crept in a big way. Yeah, so I had to fight to the nail, to a point that maybe my then wife removed my son from the school where I knew, where I was paying, to another school where I don't know. Moved house from whatever she was living to another place where I don't know. You see, so that way, even if I tried looking for him in all the places I knew they frequented, but I could not actually find him.
In this situation, because you were married,
Yes.
you obviously knew her and her family members.
Yes.
What happened in that situation? Did you use her family members to try and
Mo-
get access to the
mostly,
child and ask them, "Amesonga wapi?"
Mostly, alienators usually have the full backing of their families, because in the event that the marriage becomes trouble, the first people you call are your immediate family, maybe your mother, your father, your sisters. Their support is what mainly shapes your decision on whether to walk out or to stay in a relationship.
Right.
You see, so I cannot say that she was to blame for that relationship breaking. I know she's watching, or I was to blame.
Right.
But somehow we couldn't go on with the relationship.
Yeah.
But where we disagreed was the fact that my son was kept away from me.
Yeah.
I got into another relationship after that. That is when the parental alienation seriously started. When
Oh,
I
after you
moved
got
on.
into
Yeah.
Right, when you moved
okay.
on.
So we had to, I had to look for them. When I finally found where she lived, I had to continue fighting, and I think this is where most men back off, because maybe if I transgress a little, a deadbeat person, most, not all, are his ability to be a good father or not to be called a deadbeat will depend on how well he jumps the hoops and barricades that are put by the other person.
Right.
So if there are barricades, I want to co-parent, and then you're putting barricades and barricades. If I persist, then I will not be called a deadbeat father. But if those barricades are too hard for me, and then I back off immediately, I'll be termed as a deadbeat, which is quite unfair, because not everybody will be as resilient as myself was, or as much as I try to tell others, please, you need to continue fighting, fight on. Even if it means going to the police, go to the children's office,
Yeah.
going to court, fight.
When you talk about these barricades, sorry, I just want for viewers maybe who are, they've been trying to get people to understand what it
Yeah.
is they're going through. What's an example of these barricades? So like you said, moving of school, moving house.
Moving house, there are some, like last week we were dealing with a father who was actually physically assaulted when he went to see his child actually. Yeah, the in-laws plus they ganged up on him, and he was properly beaten up.
Yeah.
So first thing I say, these people do not realize the damage they are doing. You see, if the child is seeing all this, yeah, so you are bringing that child up knowing that violence is a way of life.
That's
So
true.
these are the children who we expect to be adults or parents in future,
Yeah.
and they are going to carry
Replicate
whatever.
the same.
Sure. So back to my story.
Yes, when you
Yeah,
found
back to
them.
the
Sorry,
story.
yes, back to
Back to
the
my
story.
story. So I met, and parental alienation is once you have been alienated the first time, chances are you'll be alienated again and again and again, because you have not fully healed from that child. Even if you go into another relationship, it will not really work out, because you are dealing with this massive problem which nobody understands. And like my next wife couldn't understand, why are you forcing yourself to that child? They don't want you. You see, I tried to tell her, this is my child, the same way as this other one is my
your
child.
child.
You see, and I cannot, as a father, I cannot truly measure that I will love this one more, I will love this one less. You see, I will love them all, and I will fight for my son the same way you will expect me to fight for your child. So those problems, they actually came into my other life, my other marriage. And we had to fight and slowly get out of it. And she understood that it is true, that for me to be able to completely heal, she had to join me and help me fight for my son. That's what we did. With my current wife, we co-parent now with my ex, and we are a tight-knit family.
Hey, but you had to fight to get there.
I had to, yeah, I had to.
That's crazy.
I had to. But most people give up along the way.
That's
and they
true.
Say, yeah,
It's too much.
Okay, now I feel a bit of woye to the people who've been labeled deadbeat and they
Who might
probably
not
went
be.
through all the barricades, but they didn't have, like you said, the resilience. But then in the case that we've identified this is an actual deadbeat, what happens in the society a lot of times, and for women who've shared such stories, is the fact that after a couple of years, they probably, like the dad bounces after the kid has just been born, and then after like 7 years, the guy is knocking on the door like, I want to be part of my child's life. Do you think deadbeats can actually change and be responsible fathers?
I think maybe what we can say is that we need to change the narration. You see, we need to change the narration. A deadbeat person, we need to separate issues of financial from this issue. And I think the issue of deadbeat, mainly, even from the comments we are reading from social media, mainly most of them are skewed towards finance. And I think people need to understand that being a deadbeat person does not mean that it's not only financial. You know? A deadbeat person is not someone who does not give you money. A deadbeat person is someone who, even with you there, even if you are still married, that person can still be a deadbeat. You see?
Yeah.
Yeah. He may not be involved with the
At all.
maybe homework or doesn't even know how to change a diaper.
Yeah.
You see, there are women out there who once she gets a child, she employs a maid, and those children are raised by maids. Those are deadbeat parents. You see, not only financial. We need to remove that tag off.
The financial bit.
Yes.
Mama Olive, maybe you could tell us, as a mom, let's say if, in this case, you probably had a deadbeat husband, yeah? And then your child's been born, and your child is now 18 years old. Okay, let's go with 16. 18 is already an adult. 16 years old, yeah? And you've done all the work. You've educated the child. Umemwonyesha homework. We are removing finances. You've been there. You've courted them into how to be a responsible young adult, and you've groomed them. You've done all the work by yourself. And then at 16, the dad comes along and wants to be a part of your child's life. Yet he's the one who ran away and didn't want nothing to do with that relationship or to have a relationship with the child. Would you then accept him back?
I think that's one of the hardest questions I'll ever get, because at the end of the day, I know I'll be infuriated and I'll probably
Me
not
too.
want him to be around. But then again, that's my relationship with him. So, I mean, as long as he's not dangerous to my child in any way and he has good intentions, then I should let him around my child. You know, I mean, like, you see, that's something I'm going to have to cross if it ever happens. Yeah. But right now, I mean, of course, I'll be so angry, and my instinct will be absolutely not. Like, there's no way you're going to do this after I've done everything and you've not been around. Like, I'll be completely angry. But at the end of the day, I need to sit down and realize, probably have a logical discussion with my dad, because he's very logical. And just sit down and just have that discussion and just be like, you know what, let me do what's best for my child. And if that means letting somebody in after this many years, if he's going to be a positive influence on him, even after 18 years, then how is that wrong? Like, why would that be a bad thing? As long as there's no danger.
Paul, I'd like you to advise, maybe from the father's rights movement side, if I come as a father now to the father's rights movement. So whatever issues I had, let's say I truly did abandon my family. So I left the relationship and I decided that I wasn't in a place mentally or maybe even financially or emotionally to raise this child. So I walked away. Now I'm back, I feel I'm more responsible, I've realized my mistakes, and I want to be back in the family's life. As a father, if I come to Father's Right Movement, what then happens? Or what advice would you give such a person to go back to their family's life, and how to not, because it's still boundaries, right? This parent that raised the child will still be like, yo. So what advice would you give such a person?
Okay, what I'll say is that, first of all, as Mama Oliver said, you have first to reconcile with the lady. You see, psychologically, he has already removed you out of their lives.
Very true.
So you have to go first of all and reconcile at least. Not reconcile as a relationship, to bring the relationship.
No.
But you have to make amendments, convince the parent first. And then, once she allows you, because obviously you can't just force yourself there after leaving for almost, I don't know, let's say like 16 years.
Yeah, even if it's 3 months, it will feel long for the lady, or for actually it will feel long for the single parent who has raised that child alone. Yeah.
It's okay. First of all, you have to reconcile. You have to make it amendments with the lady or the mother first of all before you go to the, of which is okay, because we support our movement is all about that, supporting the child. Yeah. Our movement is more focused on the child. It's not more on the relationship. But you cannot just run away and then you come and then you think everything will be all right. You have to first of all make amendments with the lady, and then after that, after you agree, then she can allow you to get involved or co-parent.
Yeah. Right. I like how the whole focus is on the kid. Even when you're like, okay, you'll be furious, but then you're like, go to my dad, the logical person, and actually think about it around the child. Looking back at your story, is there anything that you feel if you did different while in the relationship would have prevented all that fracas?
The breakup or?
No, not the breakup. No, the breakup. I have no issues with the breakup. Those ones happen all the time. Yeah. Divorces happen all the time, especially in our current society. But then is there something looking back that you'd even advise people that they do while in the relationship?
Yeah. I think the best way, what most relationships focus on, most of them focus on the good times. And nobody will ever tell you to prepare for the bad times. Together, when you are still together, even when before you actually bring in another human being into your lives, you two need to agree that should we ever divorce or should this thing ever go south, how are we going to handle it? Because nobody prepares for that. We all think happily ever after, Cinderella story, you see. But nobody really prepares for breakups. Yeah. So now, I'm glad, like with me and my ex, also I'm a member of Father's Rights Movement.
Nice. And, really? That's amazing.
And we together, the three of us, my wife, my ex-wife, and myself, we try and be an example to others. Now, like when I'm counseling a couple, I'll tell her, you want me to call my ex so that you'll hear how we talk. Me and my ex, we are best of friends. You see, and we talk very nicely. She comes to my house, we go to her house, those children come over, my children go over there. We are a tight-knit family. Because people need to understand, as I was saying, it's not about you. Your relationship can break up anytime. Because both of you have been raised from totally different backgrounds.
Yeah, that's true.
So you are trying to merge your experiences and your lives in a very, very short time so that you can make a family. You see? But people need to talk about these things before. During the happy times, we need to talk about what will happen when things go south.
Yeah.
And I think that is what, for me, I'll do differently. Yeah. And in my current relationship, that is exactly what
you're doing. Yes. That's amazing. I love that. Yeah.
I'm like, damn. Really Tat, you're a mother of two. I keep calling her Tat, short for Tatiana, and everybody's like Mama Olive, and I'm like, guys, man, just call her Tatiana.
People actually call me Olive.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Really?
People always call me Olive. I don't know why. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, no, I was this close to calling you Olive as well.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
I'm used to it.
Tatiana is not a common name, so people don't remember that easily. So even me, I only remember Mama Olive.
Oh,
yeah.
I was trying to remember Tatiana, and then
Anyway, guys, let's keep the conversation going using the hashtag KTN Life and Style. We want to see some more of what you guys had to say on the streets when we asked whether women are responsible for deadbeat dads. So let's see what they had to say.
Hii story ni ukweli, ladies wana contribute sana. Kwani when it comes to saa ingine unapata demo amepata boli yako, afu anakaa hataki kukuambia ukweli ama akona maboys wawili. Sawa, maboys wawili anashindwa ni mgani potential. So katika harakati ya kujuggle kati ya wawili, unakuta jo wenyewe inabidi huu mmoja aondoke. Sasa akishaondokea hata yeye mwenyewe amebakiana mtu wote hapo hivyo wakulushia hiyo lawama. Another thing, unakuta kuna mademu waoga. Ashapata ball, afu after miezi kadhaa ndio anakamkukuambia tuseme imepita kama miezi 4 ndio nakaa kukwambia na boli yako. Surely miezi 4 hata wewe si utakaa mitini jojo yenyewe miezi 4, sasa unangojea miezi 4. Yaani mbona unashinda utamwambia nini? So madem wakuwe honest. Kadem ama history ya kukustua. Yesu mko in relationship na dem, afu anakama na kustua ndio oneka uko rada. Anakama nakwambia ni aje? Manzejo, nina boli yako, ndio kuona venye unaweza react. Sasa ile siku atakuwa na boli yako ya ukweli. Hadi wewe utaamini. Juu wenyewe mara ya first ulikuwa umejipanga, afu akakuja akakwambia ati niko na kupima nionekane niko ati ka unaweza hepa.
Guys, hold on. You want to tell somebody you're pregnant as a joke?
Yeah.
Excuse me?
I'll drop it like it's funny.
First of all, I don't know if you guys were here earlier. Mama Oli was talking about how when you become a parent, stuff gets real. What is your own time? What is your own time? There's no such thing. Anyway, we're going to take a short commercial break for you guys to think about it. Some of you women who are out here doing that, that's okay. See you after the break.